end shot is me dancing in a nightclub with Mariah Carey, holding a metal fan so that she's got wind blowing through her hair, and there's doves flying around the room.
So Lemar and Lizzie, hello. Thank you for coming and doing this today.
Aloha.
Hi.
Hi. I wanted to get you guys on together because I spoke to you both separately about a show that you worked on together last year, which was Sister Act at the Dominion. Lemar, your first show.
Yeah, first ever show.
First ever musical.
Yeah, that was cool. The nerves were on 11.
Yeah, I bet.
10 is the maximum. It was an 11.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Pushing those nerves over the edge.
Yeah, but it was good.
We'll get on to that, and I want to talk all about both of you as people, but I want to go right back to the beginning, first of all. Lizzie.
Yes.
You, where are you from?
I am from a town called Hayward Heath in West Sussex.
Whoop.
Represent Sussex. Yeah.
There's one triple.
I know, one small like.
Yeah.
And what was your house like growing up? Was it a musical household? What were you into?
Not really. I mean, I was a bit of a nerd growing up, so I was very academic and loved school. I was one of those kids. And then when I was 6, we were in a CD shop in Hayward Heath. Do you remember CDs, everyone? Lamar remembers CDs.
Yeah, those were the
Oi,
days.
oi. No, I don't. All I remember is MP3s and digital stuff.
Yeah. And there was a poster for auditions for an Amdram production of Annie, and my dad forced me to go and audition. And I remember the night before I was crying my eyes out saying I didn't want to go, and then unfortunately for him I got in, loved it, and that was it basically from age 6.
The rest, as they say, is history. However, you took a slight detour going to UCL to study ancient history and Egyptology.
I did, that very useful degree which I obviously use all the time.
So what took you there?
So yeah, I was always academic at school, and definitely had parents who were like, I think you should go and do an academic degree, which I wasn't against. I think looking back, it was definitely the right path for me, and I'd always loved history. And I think in history at school, by the time you're doing A-levels, you basically repeat the same stuff. So I was like, I'm going to go and do the most obscure history degree possible. And it was amazing. It was like an amazing 3 years. I had to learn how to translate hieroglyphics. Wow. Yeah, so it was like...
Oh my God, it's so
proper,
handy.
Yeah. I mean, look, if anyone ever wants to go to the British Museum, I'm your guy.
Yeah.
I will be translating all of those relics for you.
Really come into your own.
You know... And if they ever need, like, Tomb Raider the musical, I'm ready.
I suppose that could be a good job for you between shows. If you lived in London, you could go and work at the museum as a tour guide.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in those 3 years I retained a lot of information, but probably now...
Babe, if Joey Tribbiani can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah.
We'll just do, what's that one where they say it was just all aliens, and that would be my answer to everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you started at university in Freshers Week, I heard a story that I really, really love, that you were absolutely point blank, no, I've come to university, I'm being studious, I'm on my academia, let's go. And in Freshers Week, you bumped into someone who you'd met as a young teen at an acting course?
Yeah, so I did National Youth Theatre when I was 13 and got shipped off to London in the Easter holidays to do a 2-week workshop. Why my mum let me just be in London on my own at 13, I don't know, but I survived, so that's all that matters. And I made friends with a guy called Richard Upton. He's still one of my really good friends. And yeah, in Freshers Week at UCL, I was coming out of quite a rowdy nightclub, and he was stood there. He was like, Lizzie, what are you doing here? And I said, oh, I'm doing my history degree. He said, you have to come and audition for musical theatre. And I was like, no, I've sworn off it. I'm doing my degree. I'm going to be a journalist. And he was like, no, come and audition.
Hang on, wait. You wanted to be a journalist?
Yeah, I wanted to be a newsreader.
A news... Okay, that is a little bit of worlds colliding there.
So that's what I thought. I was like, I'd still be using my degree, but it's still sort of performing.
A little bit jazzy. I love that.
I mean, look, I don't think the early mornings would have suited me, so it's probably for the best. But essentially, I bumped into Richard twice more that week, and the last time was in McDonald's in Mornington Crescent, and he finally wore me down. And yeah, then I went and did Musical Theatre Society, and at UCL, once you were in, that was it. You basically did more musical theatre than your actual degree. So it's all Richard Upton's fault. And it's so funny because I know this sounds really cheesy, but I'm such a believer in like your path is already made for you, and then like what's happens is meant for you and all of that stuff. And if any of you knew Richard, he is the most unlikely person to be a guardian angel you could ever possibly imagine. But I honestly think that I was meant to bump into him 3 times, and I was meant to do it, because if I hadn't done UCL Musical Theatre Society, there is no way I'd be performing now.
So we need to thank Richard and your dad for forcing you.
Yeah, hilariously,
Annie.
my dad, seeing as he was the person who absolutely did not want me to be a professional actor, and it's all his fault.
It's always his fault. Grassroots.
You know.
Sorry
About it.
Okay, and Lemar, you
Yeah.
grew up in London. Your parents
I
are
did.
Nigerian, correct?
Yeah, they're Nigerian. Yeah.
And so, what was your house like growing up?
My house was there were 4 of us. I was the youngest.
Okay.
There was actually a lot of singing. My parents were both like pastors, so there was a lot of like church and singing.
Yeah. Did
My
you
brother
sing
could
at
sing.
church?
Yeah. I was the youngest, so once my brothers became like teenagers, and my sister, but my brothers particularly, they were like no more rules. They're out. So I was left there, and I had to like go everywhere with my mum.
You had
She
to
used sing
fill
a
all
lot
the
as well.
roles then.
Basically, all the roles, all the harmonies, all everything. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this might seem like a rogue question
Rogue?
to throw in for
Dum,
your
dum,
childhood,
dum.
not
Yeah.
super rogue, but in terms of your specific childhood, was
Mhm.
theatre even on your radar?
Oh no, theatre. No. Just I just loved voices. I think like any teenager, you get into songs. I realized when I was at school, if I did a bit of singing, then ladies would usually say, "Oh, you sound nice."
Oh my God! Every man
I
I've
need
had
to
on
do
this
more of this.
podcast
Yeah,
has
right,
said the
right, that's-
exact same thing.
That's the motivation, right? So, and then around that time, the box. That's not even in existence. That's before. Around the same time as CDs, so you might be before.
The
you.
box,
The
like
box,
the
remember
club.
the box. No, the box. The TV, like the box.
Oh, TV box.
Digital. Before Sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
That thing came out.
Yes.
But once that came out, then you could see the videos to the songs. So then I'd just be in my living room singing along, like acting like, when I go to school today, I'm going to do this. Yeah, it
So
never really
you
worked.
sort of
but
were
it got me.
performing, but just like for the girls.
Yeah. Do you know, I was really fascinated by voices. I really liked voices. So from young, my parents used to have, Aretha, Marvin Gaye, Sam Cooke, all these people playing in the house. So I think subconsciously between that and obviously going to church, and it's all voices, and then my brothers could sing, so then it was harmonies in the house. So I was just always used to love voices. So
There's something really to be said for, particularly with people who grew up in families where they're the youngest and they went to church.
Yeah.
And everyone sort of follows we all go to church together and we sing, and it's just part of our lives.
Yeah.
The musicality that can come from that, and the
Yeah.
education
Yeah.
that accidentally sort of
Yeah,
happens to you.
I think that's what it is accidental, because you don't realize at the time, you're just like, oh God, we've got to go with Mum again. But you don't realize that you're sharpening your tool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so what was the first time you sort of thought, oh, actually, I could do this. This could be my job?
I never did. I wanted to do pharmacy. I wanted to be a doctor.
Yes.
Sorry, a pharmacist.
You were going to go to
that's what
Cardiff.
That's exactly that. And I used to sing in my living room at the top of my voice. And there was a lady who used to live opposite me called Lorraine, and her boyfriend was Digi, RS Digital, and he used to have one of those BMWs with a big sound system in the car.
Yeah, cool.
So he'd be fixing it outside, and I'd be singing, not to them, just singing in my living room along with the box. And one day he knocked on my door. He was like, I keep on hearing you singing. Is that you that's singing, or someone else in the house? I was like, it's me, weird man, at my door. So he said, look, take my number and you should call me. So I was like, yeah, I took it and I tore it up. I was like,
Yeah.
weirdo. And I went back to college. Yeah, and then kind of like you, I bumped into him again. I bumped into him in the alleyway. He asked me again. I was like, yeah, weirdo.
Why does this all sound so creepy?
Right. And then one day I was going home and he caught me again. He's like, you get back to me. So I was like, all right. So I followed him one day. He took me down to.
Now you're the creep. The tables have
It
turned.
was different times, guys.
Yeah, it's different times.
You were wandering around London at 13 by yourself. Lamar's meeting old men in
Back in
alleys.
Lamar's day, this was all normal.
Yeah, you just follow people, But no, I went down to a studio in West. I went down to a studio in West London and met the rest of his team. Best Kept Secret, they were called. and we just started recording. They were working with a girl called Kelly LaRock, who went on to do some stuff, and I just used to go down there after college sometimes and sing. That was it, yeah. Start writing and recording.
Were you writing at that age? That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, I was writing in my spare time. When I was down at the studio, I was usually voicing songs that they'd done, but in my time, I do get a little bit obsessed with things, so I'd be up till like 2, 3 a.m. every morning writing songs and singing. So, yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I have to ask about Fame Academy, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, of course.
How old were you when you did Fame Academy?
23.
Right, so about the same age as your mum passed away, is that right?
Yeah, literally, she passed away a week before my first single came out, yeah.
You're joking?
Literally, yeah, the week of, it was like, man, this life sucks.
Yeah, one of those weird things that when they happen like that and the timing syncs up. So was she, did she see you do Fame Academy?
Yeah, she saw me do the Fame Academy, so the tapes are somewhere. She's there in the audience, and but she was going through a hard time at that time, but she was just trying to show face for me, you know, while I was on the show. And then after the show, I did, I believe we did the tour. We did like Wembley Arena up and down. So she got to see that, and then she was kind of too ill after that. So yeah, but you know, we had some good conversations. She said to me, "Do you know? I now know, because you're the youngest. I know that you're okay now. So I'm good to sign out." So it's like, oh man.
She must have been so incredibly proud to sort of see you take that stage. And
that's what she told me.
Own.
So I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
She will have been. I was proud of you, and I didn't even know you. I was obsessed with you on Fame.
Oh my God, me too.
It's that money I gave you to say that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought my cow suit with that.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, it was worth every penny. There.
For the listener, Lizzie is dressed as a beautiful cow today.
Yes.
I love it. Okay, so Fame Academy happens, and you embark upon this incredible career.
Yeah.
It's been so wildly varied and successful. Like the amount of BRIT and MOBO awards and wins that you've had for the MOBOs particularly. Did you ever anticipate that for yourself?
Not at all. You know, it took about, 8 years of trying before I did Fame Academy. So I'd been ground to the point of feeling like, this isn't meant for me now. I've got to somehow now go back and try and reclaim the years that all my friends have now got on me. One's a doctor now, one's a computer programmer, and I'm here still trying to convince my parents that I made the right decision. So, 8 years of that, and I thought, it's not meant to happen. And then, I rolled the dice one day. I went in for the audition, and I just wanted people to hear my voice, and that was it. Like, beyond that, and maybe do a few performances. I don't think I really knew what it led to. I just knew it led to people hearing your voice, And you could never have anticipated it leading you here today. Right here. The dizzy heights. Beside Lizzie Bea in the cow suit. Come on.
What a lucky man.
Funded by yourself.
Wow. Come on.
So let's jump way forward to let's go to lockdown.
Wow.
Lizzie, I know that you just before lockdown you were announced as Tracy in the Hairspray sort of revival at the Coliseum. Huge job, huge opportunity, and then the world fell to basically.
Yeah. So I'd just been on an 18-month tour doing Kinky Boots, and it was towards the end of Kinky Boots I found out about Hairspray. And I met my fiance on Kinky Boots. We'd made all these plans. We were going to move in together. We'd settled on this flat, and we were thinking, oh my goodness, with all my Hairspray money, we're going to pimp out the flat. We're going to do all of this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then none of that happened. So Alfie was sat on a camping chair for the whole of lockdown. And just a lot of plans went on the back burner. But we were really, really lucky with our producers of Hairspray, because they told us from the get-go this show is going to happen. So weirdly, I actually felt really lucky because I could go through lockdown knowing I had that at the end. Whereas my other half, Alfie, who's also an actor, he didn't know what was going to happen once the world went back to normal. I feel like if you went into lockdown and you didn't have anything booked, it was far scarier because you didn't know how long it was going to take for things to catch up. So, for example, he'd just auditioned for Les Mis before lockdown and had been told this part was available and he was going to wait to hear, and then lockdown finished and the person didn't leave, and so he never got to do it. So it was like, I feel like being in a relationship with another actor who didn't have staff, I actually thought, you know what, the fact I'm going to get to do this job when this is all over is enough to kind of mentally get me to the end of it. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's when we met. We met in lockdown, doing
on the
Christmas Carol.
Yeah, the
Was
craziest,
she in your
most
bubble?
random
Sorry?
job.
Did you say you met her in lockdown?
No,
Was she
she
in your
was
bubble?
not in my bubble. It was
Just checking.
post bubble times.
Well, it was sort of post-bubble. It was that weird... You guys will probably remember when they suddenly said we had tiers in London. So they, like, for a few weeks, it was suddenly tiers and
was
theatres
absurd.
could
It
reopen.
was the most
And so we decided to rehearse a full-scale, fully orchestrated production of Christmas Carol that was on for 11 performances and then stopped.
Oh,
We closed on our press night.
Yeah, what a wild ride.
It was insane. And then, here we go, you probably don't know about this. Post-show that night, it was lockdown. And we'd been ordered, you must go home and go back into lockdown as of tomorrow morning at like 10 a.m. or whatever. And we were like, well, our show's just closed. What do you do on the last night of a show? You have a little party, guys. So the only thing that we could do was we went to
Number 10.
the bench.
bench.
The bench.
The bench. It will forever be known as the bench. It should have a plaque on it.
Yeah,
in all
outside
honesty.
Cameron's office in Bedford Square, there's this bench. And I don't know, I'd gone and sat there a couple of nights before and had a beer with someone. And then we went on that last night. And the whole, like, cast, company, crew, orchestra, and, like, the police came at one point, didn't they? And
Oh, whoa.
do you
Yeah.
remember? Because there was no toilet or anything.
We're climbing over the
Climbing-
fence to
people
have
climbing
wee-wees.
over the fence to have a wee in the private, like, you know, like in Notting Hill
You're not
when they
surprised
climb
though,
over.
are you?
No, of course not.
I'm not actually.
No.
Now I know the characters behind the scenes.
Literally.
At theatre. I'm not.
It was
surprised.
so fun, though.
Yeah.
The police
was
didn't
just-
mind, by the way. They were like,
No.
just don't be
Yeah,
too loud.
we were very polite about it. And I think it was just, that night was just emotionally horrendous because we just got back to doing the thing we loved most in the world. And actually, I will say mentally, after that, I was way worse than before because I think we just had a taste of doing it again.
normal
Yeah,
life.
and it was so good as well, wasn't it? That show.
Such a brilliant show.
Never in a million years would you have pulled this cast of people
No.
together because everyone was available. So he basically, Freddie Tapner, basically had his pick of the whole of the West End and sort of celebrities as well who didn't normally work in musical theatre.
That's
And
what lockdown does, isn't it? Everyone's like, yeah, I'll work, yeah, what?
yeah, I'll do it.
I'll
Yeah.
do what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stand there. What do you want me to do?
did any of
Yeah,
you
immediately.
book anything in lockdown for after lockdown that at the time felt like a really good idea and then you got to it and you were like, oh God.
I don't think I did have any random stuff because we got told about 10 different opening night dates for Hairspray.
Oh,
so we
yes.
just had to permanently be available, basically. So I don't think I did.
Yeah, no, me, I was planning album stuff, so it just put huge delays on that. So you know,
Yeah.
it was just there's nothing like, especially when you're the source of everything. Just like you guys all know, you're the source of everything you do. The not knowing is can be horrible.
Was your album ready at the start of lockdown?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
it's so annoying.
Yeah, and then it's like, all right, cool. So then now you've got to find the optimum time, but the optimum time isn't necessary because you don't know how things are gonna be once it
The
turns on
landscape
again.
totally changed,
Do
yeah.
people want to go out? Do they want to, be in a crowded room? Probably not. So you got to wait for all that to happen, and then there's the backlog of people who are already on tour. So then they've got to get first priority. So that year's, usually you're planning a year to 2 years in advance. So
When you release now, so excuse me for being very musical theatre about this. I haven't been in the music industry
I like
for
the hands you
years.
just did as well.
Yes, I did some jazz hands for the listener.
Yeah.
When music used to come out back in the day,
back in the day,
when music came out, you'd do like a club tour. Does that still exist?
a club tour. Okay.
Like going out and like,
Alright.
do you know what I mean? Like
Alright,
dropping
yeah.
the single and doing the clubs.
Yeah,
Embarrassing myself.
No, I know what you mean. I'd probably gone a little bit past the club tours. I used to do club tours, but it's more like
no,
the
it's
radio
like when you're
tours.
starting out. I mean, like if you're
Oh, yeah,
if you're
yeah.
brand new and you're releasing a single, and
Oh,
you
yeah,
go and
you-
you do
you-
all the clubs and stuff.
You run around like a nutter. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's tiring.
Does
But
that still exist? Do people still do that?
Less so.
Okay, thank God.
Do you know what? I remember back in the day, like there'll be all the radio stations would have their own summer shows as well. So you just be on the road continuously. Top of the Pops was on, and then it was like the Saturday whatever and Deck used to do on the Saturdays, and it was so you're just always out. But now I think because the people just consume music differently now.
Yeah,
you know.
I was thinking about this, the way that things get released as well. You drop a whole album rather than feeding a couple of singles and then we wait for the album.
Yeah.
And we get the videos as the singles come out.
No, now it's just like you need to continue. There needs to be a continuous stream of things. Otherwise, people just forget. There's a lot more noise now, you know? If someone says, oh, you want to see a video before, it's not like, I remember being a kid and waiting for the Michael Jackson Bad video. I was in front of the school was the next day. I was up all night waiting. It's going to be out at midnight. I'm going to see Michael Jackson in the station. Woo! And then you saw the video, and it's like, what? You can't see the video again until it plays at whatever time.
Yeah, of
Whereas
course.
now, you see a video, it's like, yeah, I've seen part of it. Yeah, good. What are you up to?
Yeah, I remember actually like literally being sat on MTV with it muted, waiting for the lucky Britney Spears video to come around. Because I hadn't seen it and I didn't have Sky. So I'd go to my friend Sierra's house and we'd sit with MTV and we didn't want anything else. We were just waiting for it to come back around. And you'd request. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Request video.
On the box used to do that. The box, you don't know the box. The
No.
box. You used to have to call up and then wait.
Let's skip forward again to last year. So, Sister Act. Sister Act. Lizzie, how did it come about for you? Because you played a role that is outside of your usual casting.
Yeah, it was the randomest job ever. So I obviously done Hairspray. And when I was on Hairspray, I had a really scary conversation with my agent where I basically said, I feel like people who have played Tracy Turnblad live with this curse where either they never work again or they get boxed into this thing of I'm just gonna play the fat girl in all of the shows. And I was like, I just don't see that being my future. I don't relate to those stories. I don't relate to those characters who get bullied at school. That isn't my lived experience, and I don't think those are stories that I want to tell. And luckily my agent is amazing, and she was like, yeah, 100%. It might mean that we have to, you know, go and do some more regional stuff or some less well-paid stuff, but I totally support that that's the journey that you want to go on. And because Hairspray had happened in COVID, I left that job not knowing what was happening. Luckily, I then got a phone call from lovely Paul Taylor Mills being like, we're doing Heathers, do you want to come and be in it? And I was like, yep, sign me up, I really want to do it. And then I started auditioning for stuff, got an email through in February 2022, just being like, you've got an audition for Sister Mary Robert in Sister Act. And I read it, I thought, Sister Mary Robert? I was like, I don't think that's my casting. And I rang my agent and I said, are you sure that's the right character, not Sister Mary Patrick? And she was like, no, Sister Mary Robert, that's what I've put you in for, that's what Stuart Burt wants to see you for. And I was like, okay, this is...
Change is going to come.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Like, okay. And I'd seen the last West End production of Sister Act and was obsessed with Life I Never Led. I think it's one of the best songs in musical theatre.
What a song.
Yeah, Lamar's favourite as well.
I hadn't heard it until I was like, woo!
Oh my God. And in this voice
Lizzie
as well.
Bea.
Do you know what I'm saying?
This is not a joke.
Not a joke at all. That voice can do anything, but on that song,
Woo.
when I first I text you, I first heard that track. I was on Tube and I was sobbing because I also knew how much it had meant to you to get the role and to do that, and I sort of knew that you were trying to branch away from
like,
the norm in terms of casting.
It was huge, and I remember the audition process was so quick. I did 3 auditions in a week and that was it, and then heard the next week that I was doing it. And the audition,
it was always like that.
Yeah, it was. It's going to sound really cheesy, but when I did the final audition, I had that magic feeling, and I was like, I've left everything in that room. It had meant so much to me to be able to be in that. And I remember after I'd sung it for the last time in the audition, I said to them, I hope you know how much this means to someone like me. I'm going to get emotional.
Me
like,
too.
I hope you know how much this means to someone like me, that you're even considering me for this part. No matter what happens, the fact that you are seeing me for something which is so different is enough. And so the next week when my agent rang me, I honestly was like, my life is going to change. Like, that's a life-changing role. And we obviously did it at Hammersmith first, but it was when I was on tour and like young plus size girls would come up to me at stage door and be like, seeing you do that makes me feel like I can go and do anything. And I was like, that's why I do it. Like, what a privileged position am I in that I'm going to be that person that they can go, oh, if Lizzie's done it, then I can do it. And I didn't grow up with that. I don't remember going to see a show where someone who looked like me was playing a role where their size wasn't mentioned. And so, yeah, I think for the rest of my life, that is going to be the job where I was like, that's where it changed. It was like
that's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is. You're a trailblazer in many ways, but this is a really important vein. And let it be known as well. If you follow Lizzie on Instagram, you'll know this. Lizzie's a gym gal. She's strong. This girl can turn up 8 times a week and give it hell. So why? Like, come on, Fontaine.
But that's
come on, Alphabet. Do you know what I mean?
And this is why I'm really lucky that I have an agent who's also on that path with me. So I've had the same agent my whole career. So we always talk about how we've done it together. Because when I booked Sister Mary Robert, Stuart Burt, the casting director, who is amazing at his job, emailed me and he said, I hope you know how amazing your agent is, because when she submitted you for that part, I hadn't even considered someone who looked like you. But as soon as I saw your name, I thought, yeah, Lizzie would be perfect for this. And the fact that your agent is doing that work for you behind the scenes means that it's going to happen. So, you know, the fact that we've done it together and we have these conversations about, we're not just going to take any old work. We've worked too hard to go backwards. And I truly believe that casting is like a two-way street, and it's not just, oh, I want to do that show, so I'll take it. You want those people to want to work with you.
Absolutely.
As well. And trust me, I have had auditions where I've walked in the room and I can tell straight away that they are just going, oh no, can't have someone who looks like that, like playing this part. And you can read it on their face straight away. Equally, I've had them when you walk in and you can tell they're like, fantastic, this is really refreshing.
That's amazing.
So, you know, you have to have the bravery to go, I didn't like their vibe, I don't want to work with them anyway.
And how, if anyone's listening to this who thinks that they might be in your position in terms of how they look or their casting bracket, whether it's a similar vein to you or for another reason, whether it's race or size or whatever, what sort of, have you ever had to have a word with yourself and remind yourself, no, I'm on this path for a reason? Because it must be difficult at times.
It's really difficult at times, because especially on those days where you walk into a room and you are like, they are literally just seeing my body, seeing what I look like and boxing me into something, you sort of go, oh God, there is a really long way to go with some of these places. But I know who I am and I know what my USP is and I know what my story is. And like, you both know me really well. I'm like the most positive, happy person ever. And like I said, my story isn't one that's negative, it's positive. And so I know what stories I want to tell, and they're happy stories. So I want to hopefully continue to be someone who trailblazes, for want of a less hyperbolic word. But I feel... I used
it first, it's fine.
I just feel really lucky, because I don't think when I started in the industry 10 years ago, I would have just been happy to be on a stage, and now I get to be like, actually no, I don't want to do that, which is amazing. Well,
you've done incredibly well so far with that, and I can't wait to be your fan in that going forward. Lemar, back to you. I've digressed from Sister Act ever so slightly. How did it come about for you? Because like what?
I know, right?
You know what I mean?
Do you know what? You mentioned lockdown earlier. I think that's what lockdown does, you know? I remember at the time, I've forgotten, was it Rishi Sunak? I don't know who said,
no.
Was it? No?
Boz.
Who said?
Boris.
Boz.
That said about retraining?
Oh, yes, no, that was Rishi.
I know my politics. So, and I remember at that time just thinking, do you know what? If everything did not go back to normal, have you ticked every single box that you wanted to? You know, I've ticked the music box. I've been doing it for, I don't know, 20-something years now. So, but is there any other stuff outside that box that you wanted to do, you know? And I just thought, you know what? I've always wanted to do a little bit of acting. So I threw my hat in the ring. I did something with Sky, with Jamelia, called Little Darlings.
Just casually threw Jamelia's
Do
name
you know what
in
I
there.
mean?
She's a good friend. But yeah, that was the first thing I
He's
literally...
going to talk about Bridgerton now as well, so brace.
Oh yeah, and that, yeah.
Oh, and that.
Yeah, and
Just
no, but you know, it was the first thing I threw my hat in the ring for, the Sky one. I thought, oh, okay. And then, but I remember my agent at the time saying, it's not normally like this. Like, it's the first thing you've auditioned for and you've got it. It's not like that. Yeah. And I remember being on that, and like there's some established actors on there as well. And I remember about halfway through, they started auditioning for other stuff, and they'd come in and be like, oh yeah, we've been auditioning for this and this. And I thought, oh my, I didn't, as much as you know people audition for stuff, you don't realize, like for an artist, you spend, like I said, I did 8 years going to every single record label and them saying no. But once you get a yes, then it's your journey, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't need to re-audition. I mean, you got to always prove people wrong. But to do something and be as accomplished as you guys, and you know, at the end of that, you're going to audition for something. It's like, what?
But that's the thing. I remember.
I just done all that. Did you not hear?
Yeah. Last time I worked with Lucie, she's like, "Oh, I've got an audition for this." I said, Lucy Jones still has to audition. Nah, I refuse to believe it.
What's really interesting about it is, though, that people come into this side of the industry, and like Lemar, like you have now come into the theatre world a little bit, and you've gone, what? But what's really interesting about it is that you might have someone playing a lead in Wicked or in Les Mis or in Phantom or whatever, and there's no ladder that you can just like sort of do one rung up from for the next one. You have to be realistic about it. You might have to take 5 steps back down that ladder, and that it's a really weird thing. And
I think what's good about it is I guess it keeps you on your top. Your knife is always sharp because you're like, I don't know when I have to slay.
Yeah.
Life I never lived. You might just need to do that. You have to pull it out of the bag.
I just see that in the wings every show. Lamar just there like.
If you didn't come into, I wish they need to just do another one just so that people in here need to. That song, sung by Liz, is so exceptional. I'd be there every night like, wow. And that's another thing. 7 days, 7 shows or 8 shows a week, whatever. And I'd be like, these guys repeat this thing every day. She's going to do that, and she delivers that note every single night for 6 months. I'm like, the commercial music industry is relatively easy in comparison, you know?
I mean, this is the thing. It's really interesting to have someone come into the world, our world, who is as accomplished and successful as you and is as talented as you, and to then still step into a theatre and go, how do I do that?
Because, you know, I think it's when you're used to running your own ship, you know?
Yeah.
I don't feel like doing it today, I won't do it today, you know? Or I'm not going to do the tour then, I'm going to do it in 6 months' time or 3 months' time. That's when I want to do it. Until then, I'm going to be on a beach, right? But to commit and say, do you know what? These people are going to turn up and I'm going to deliver this at a certain standard continuously, sometimes twice on the same day. For 6 months, a year and a half, 3 months. It's a real commitment, and I think I don't know. It's something that unless you do it, unless you witness it firsthand from behind the scenes, you don't fully appreciate. You know, because there's people trying to warm up their voices, trying to stay. At some point, it breaks down. Even if I go on my own tour and you're picking where you want to stay, everything can't be more luxurious, right? There's still about 2 or 3 weeks in, okay, granted you might do, no, if you're doing a lead, you're doing similar amount of songs, probably around 20 songs, all right? There's around 2 or 3 weeks into the tour, there's a little dip. Everything's just adjusting to tour mode. And then after that, you're back in. So, but to do that for 6 months, 12, continuously, that's, I know I'm going on about it, but it's genuinely, it takes commitment and hard work and dedication to your craft and to the audience that's coming and respect for the audience that's coming to continuously, deliver that.
But you have that in you anyway because of all of the work that you've done as Lemar, artist and writer and performer. You do have that in you. So you already have that sort of bedrock, if you will.
I've got a base. I mean, my role in Sister Act was a lovely introduction. Beverly Knight was...
I used to be so jealous.
I'm telling you.
Lemar.
Beverly Knight was on me for about, I want to say, 8 years, maybe. Lemar, you need to come and do theatre. You need to do something in theatre. And I'll be like, yeah, this is wrong time, or, you know. And then eventually, obviously, lockdown happened, and I did the bit of acting that I said, and I thought, do you know what? It'll be a nice way to do a bit of acting, but combine a bit of singing. But you don't realise how different, like I said, the commercial side of music is versus acting versus... You think acting and singing is I don't know, closer to that, but it's not. It's a very different skill set. You know, you're telling someone else's story. You're not telling your own. It's not a song that I've written. So it's someone else's story, someone else's vision, and you've got to bring that to life in a convincing way, day after day, sometimes twice a day, month after month.
Yeah.
You know? And it's a different skill set.
Did you like it?
Oh, I loved it. Do you know what I loved? I mean, like I say, my role was minimal. I sang one song and did a little bit of acting.
Yeah.
And apart from that, I was in my... And even though I was doing that, I still missed one of the roll calls. I missed a scene. I was like, oh.
And it was iconic.
Hang
and
on,
I
wait,
never
you
let
missed
him
a
forget
scene?
it. He missed a scene.
Okay, it's story time, folks.
Here's what used to happen, right? I'd be upstairs, right? In my little room, right? I lay out a little bed, I lie down, right? There's got a tannoy where you can hear what's going on in the show, right? So, can everyone come down? 5 minutes to go. You go down, all right, cool. Act like I'm with the crew, right? Do my one little scene, go back to my room, all right? So then I'll be in my room, and I had like a 45-minute break. You know, I've been this for 20-something years. I'm older. Sometimes we take a nap, all right? Just momentarily, all right? But I'd be happy if it was a nap. It wasn't that. Beverly was singing a song, and once I hear that song, I know it's my time to go down. Hearing the song, I started getting into it. I'm like, she did really well today. Woo, go on, Beverly. Ah, nice, yeah. And it finished, and I was like, I'm meant to be downstairs.
Oh, no.
And it's a long old way down
so
at the
many
Dominion.
stairs. I was running. I came down. And the scene, they're just coming off of my scene. I was like, oh.
Luckily, your boys covered for you very well.
Yeah, the boys, the boys who played my buddies on stage, they covered it for me. But
So what did they do? Just make up lines around your lines? Or?
they made up some lines and walked off the stage. I was
Live theatre,
distraught.
folks.
I went home distraught, like, oh my, these people, these professionals come here every day, and I've messed this up.
Luckily for
was
Lemar, he
painful.
wasn't the first Curtis who had done that, so the boys were actually
true.
quite used to
Oh,
it.
I'm sure.
It was painful. I'm remembering it now. It was painful.
But as a whole, apart
Yeah.
from that one painful...
What made it
day.
great is these guys, you know, Lizzie, the whole crew, you know, just everyone is such a ray of sunshine. And I realized, I think, obviously, as you've already heard, you know, Lizzie's a don in the game, as are many of the others backstage. And so they understand when you do something for that long, you're going to have moments of, you know, you're going to dip sometimes, you're going to be happy sometimes, you're not going to be. And I found what the whole crew was great at doing is knowing when to lift each other up, you know, knowing when to give each other space, you know, tiptoeing when they need to tiptoe, you know, coming over and noticing that you're a bit down and, you know, giving you something to laugh about or smile about. It was really a family. I think that part was the best part, the family vibe that was on it. You know, it was really, really great. It could have gone for another 6 months and it would have been
Yeah.
a pleasure.
I've worked with quite a lot of people who've come from a similar sort of world that you have. And they all say the same thing. It's so nice to be part of a
It's
big
a proper
gang.
family, yeah.
Yeah. So nice. Lizzie, did you have any apprehensions when you heard that Lemar had been cast in the show?
There we go. Oh, God, that dude.
I've genuinely never been more excited because we were a big Lemar family. Lemar knows this. So, like, my mum loves Lemar. Lemar knows this because he's had to suffer my mother meeting him a few times. But I was just like, that is perfect casting. I feel like Lemar is everything that Curtis is as a character, just cool,
Crooked,
calm and collected
horrible.
and nasty and horrible. No, and then when we first heard Lemar sing Find My Baby, I think everyone just went, it's how we've always wanted that song to be done, actually. It was just amazing. And
It's the money I passed around again. I'd say.
yeah,
Bunch
I'll
of
be
50s.
getting
Walk with a
another
bunch
cow
of
soon.
50s. A lot of good things happen.
But I feel like on Sister Act especially, because I ended up doing it for 2.5 years, which when I signed up, I never would have thought I would have been on it for that long. Every single name that we had come in was exceptional. And I don't know how they did it, because it's not always like that, trust me.
Well, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Because, yes, Lemar, you come from a world of music and performance, but you hadn't done all that much acting until the recent history, and you had never done a musical.
No, it was so nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
So,
it
you know,
must
one
have
thing
been.
as a, you know, commercial artist, like I say, I wanted to do pharmacy, right? I just so happened to be singing a lot, and someone heard me, and then I sang more, and I sang more, released some records, people bought them, but I didn't like go to a school and learn how to do it, you know? So whenever I'm around, like, you know, I did something with, I don't know, the BBC Orchestra, you're like, oh my God, all these people actually play.
They know what they're doing.
They've done masters in the violin, right? And all, you know, Lizzie, all these people, you know your craft, you know all the musicals, you've gone in, you're singing every note, you're doing it again. It's like, so then when you come in, you feel like a little bit of a cheat. You're like, okay, well, I mean, you're just, what I'm doing in my world is just what emotion I have, just putting it down, and it's been working, you know?
I love how simple you make it
That's what
sound.
it
For
is,
us,
though.
we're like,
I know.
how do you do that?
No, you're not.
Yes, we
are.
are.
I promise,
No.
Lemar,
We
I
get
promise
given
you.
words to
Yeah.
say, Lemar. You write them. You pull your
But
heart out.
you know, I came across there's two like what are they classically trained musicians that I know, and they can play like wow. And then I remember I've asked both of them, I'm like, what, have you like written stuff yourself or done anything yourself? They're like, no. We just read. And I find it so impressive how we can split our brain into, you know, playing Mozart, but not thinking, all right, cool, let me just move a couple of these chords and see what I want to
But
write
that's
about
how your
myself.
brain works.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we all operate differently, I guess, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. We're almost out of time. I'm so sorry.
Boo.
I could sit here.
What's going on?
I love
wanted
doing
Lizzie
this podcast.
to go again. I was getting off. I thought I knew her. I'm getting to know her more. I'm leaning
This
in. I
is the
started
thing.
over here.
It's
I'm
so
like,
good. It's so good to sit down and have these conversations. Come back.
Now you're literally seeing what it was like backstage.
Yeah.
Me and Lemar, I'm not even joking. Me and Lemar were like two naughty school children on that show.
She was very feisty sometimes, I must say. Very
Bad
feisty.
influence backstage.
Yeah, but I thought I'd teach Lemar what it's actually like
Yeah,
on
no.
a musical. Do you know what I mean?
And she did.
There was
And
one
she did.
scene where he would come off and I would hide in a different place backstage every time, and it just got more and more extreme every time. But then there was one day where I really panicked, you know? And I hadn't left myself enough time, and there was this bed backstage, and I just lay on the bed and was like just sitting there posing like, hi Lemar,
And I
He's
come
like,
off, I'm like, what the hell is that?
he was like,
She's
Lizzie,
like,
you've done really like
yeah, you've
messed it up this time.
yeah,
But yeah, we just used
What's
to
your
hide
best
from
work?
each other.
Yeah, it's good.
I
He
have
loved it.
a question that I ask every guest on the pod. The answer can be good, bad, ugly, anything in between. If you had to pinpoint the most surreal moment of your career, or one of the most surreal moments of your career,
I know my answer straight away.
go shoot.
Very early on, as an actor, I got cast in a commercial for Hostelworld, that famous company. And wait, it gets weirder. We'd been told when we got cast that there was going to be like a massive A-list celebrity in the advert, and we weren't allowed to know who it was. I go to
Was it
Barcelona.
Lemar?
Yeah, I came out
Yeah.
with swimming trunks.
We go to Barcelona to film this advert. We're all there waiting, and they're like, it's Mariah Carey. And we're like, sorry? So Mariah Carey comes in. What? And I start filming an advert with her. It's a really weird advert. You'll find it on YouTube. And the end shot is me dancing in a nightclub with Mariah Carey, holding a metal fan so that she's got wind blowing through her hair, and there's doves flying around the room.
Right. I think for the whole series of podcasts that I've just recorded,
That is the most
by
random.
far and above the most surreal.
Yeah, it's like a fever dream when I look back on it.
Wow.
It was iconic.
What?
Yeah,
Doves were flying through the air, you said?
yeah, real doves.
Was she nice?
She was lovely. Yeah, we all were just like, cool, take the money and run from this weird experience.
Wow. Well,
enjoy
there you go.
it.
What
Enjoy it on
story.
YouTube. It's
Yeah,
a masterpiece.
Can't wait.
That's crazy.
What about you, Lemar? Any Dove-related surreal moments? in
No,
your life?
no. I've met Mariah and we've hung out, but no, there were no doves flying around.
Oh, that's a shame.
Around the place.
I like to think that she always has doves flying around her.
Just in general, yeah. No, do you know? I don't know.
Was it like supporting
I should have gone
Justin
second.
Timberlake or-
My mind's gone back.
You will never top that.
Wow, no, I can't top that.
But you've just done some incredible things over the years. There must have been a moment where you thought, what?
Probably still like way back, during Fame Academy actually, when Lionel came down, and he was
Lionel came down.
Yeah, and he was like, look, I want you, Lionel Richie, and he said, he wanted to sing with me, and I remember forgetting, I was quite confident. I was like, yeah, all right, cool, yeah, I'm going to sing with Lionel Richie. It's great. And they did the what is it, the sound check, whatever. And he does this easy like Sunday morning. I come out, I sing my bit. I'm like, whoa, heart's beating. I'm like, wow. And then we had to do it a second time, coming out, and I'm looking there, and I just thought, I'm this dude from Tottenham that, like, how is Lionel Richie there? And I'm about to come, and I'm daydreaming, and he's singing. So, and then he points at me. I'm like, why is he pointing at me? It was my turn to come out. And I forgot the lyrics. I forgot all the lyrics. It's Curtis 2.0. Forgot all the lyrics. And I was just there, and the cameras go to me, and I walk out, and I don't know how to sing his song. I'm just like, they're like, cut. And then the next take was the live take. I was like, oh, shoot. So then, but luckily, he pulled me to one side. We had a good chat. It was like, listen, I picked you because you're exceptional. I know you can do this. Come out. And he just gave me that, good confidence. So, yeah.
And it is an amazing clip. I watched it this morning. It's
did you?
So good.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, that was surreal.
Both of you, thank you so much. This was so nice. I say this every time, but I could really sit here for 3 days. It's been so lovely. Whatever comes next for both of you, I will be cheering you on.
Cheering and vice versa.
Always. Love you guys. Thanks for coming. Lizzie Bea and Lemar.
Lucie Jones doing a podcast and it's just begun. Lucie Jones needed a theme tune, so I wrote a one. And it goes like this, off script. With Lucie Jones.